Welcome to my latest podcast series, One Life. My name's Terence Wallace, and I'm the writer and publisher of a weekly essay entitled Indelible Adventures, and I'm your host. This podcast series sets out to prompt and challenge your thinking about life and what it means to really live your life. I'll share with you my insights and personal experiences with the sole objective of getting you to reflect and think about your approach to living your best life. So let's get started. This week's episode is entitled Learning to Lead. Do you consider yourself a leader? This past week, I've been noodling over the concept of leadership. It's one of those elusive skills and capabilities that not every one of us possesses. Although as I say this, I also understand that leadership is not a simple concept. Most people believe that they can lead, but do they have the insight to do so? There are 5 different leadership styles, and perhaps you're one of them. The first is delegative, those that distribute tasks as a form of leadership. The second is autocratic, and it's those that speak and never listen. It's their way or the highway with no input required. Thank you very much. The third type of leadership is democratic, those that lead but are cognizant and open to feedback and criticism along the way. The fourth is transactional, those that focus on one objective at a time. And lastly, transformational, those that harness the power and capabilities of the broader team to accomplish their goals. It's clear that not all leaders are created equal. However, what I can tell you is that over the span of our careers, we'll likely encounter all 5 variations of these leadership styles. In fact, some of these styles may suit you as an individual perfectly, others not so much. As well, there are situational moments that require a different form of leadership from the everyday. Often these are accompanied by a crisis or incident. So are you confused yet? Well, it seems that there is no one-size-fits-all type of leadership style. Although we may lean into one form, we also have undertones of another, 1 or 2 simmering close to the surface and brought out based on the situation. In many cases, we often confuse leadership with decision-making. It's clear that leaders need to have autonomy to make decisions, but leadership has many nuances, especially across the 5 different types of leadership. We need a balance of leaders and followers. These roles are constantly changing and evolving, even with leaders needing to be led at times. Now, whether you're open and willing to be led or allow others to lead is another question. What I do know is that the concept of leadership has evolved considerably over the years and will continue to do so. For those familiar with me through my writing, you'll know that I'm a huge history buff, and as I've researched this topic, it's led me to the First World War and the differences between nations in terms of who led their troops and how effective this was. An effective example of the First World War is at the beginning of the war, the English divisions were led by those with privilege, which primarily made up of the upper classes. It soon became apparent that just because you were born into an elite family or of privilege, that didn't automatically make you a great leader. In fact, often far from it. An excellent example to illustrate my point is that the Australian Army was under British command for much of the First World War, which often translated into horrendous losses. As an example, in the Battle of Fromelles in July 1916, in less than 24 hours, Australia's 5th Division suffered 5,500 casualties of the 8,000 men that went into battle. It was an unmitigated disaster, poor leadership in the form of not enough planning and reconnaissance, coupled with inept and outdated strategies, led to this catastrophic failure. After these senseless losses, the Australian Army was able to take control of its own forces. With it came the adoption of a new policy in that the only way to become an officer was via the ranks. They believed that experience under fire and how the man handled himself was the best way to determine their leadership capabilities. Unfortunately, this scenario played itself out time and time again, as during the battles, as existing officers were already killed, and so it wasn't unusual to find a private leading a company or 120 men plus, where once a captain had been, because they instinctively took charge and led when it was required. It was through the rigours of extreme hardship that the true leaders came to the fore, out of necessity. Although not a life and death scenario in today's world, leaders need to be able to clearly think their way through a situation to a successful outcome. As I said earlier, not all leaders are created equal. Some leaders shine under fire and work their magic when the situation of mayhem and chaos is all around. In fact, some even thrive in this situation, while others lose their ability to think and function. This translates into a fine balancing act for organisations. Leaders are all around us, waiting to be uncovered. Depending on the organisational culture, some organisations will become an incubator for leadership. A great example is GE in the 1980s. While other organisations don't allow young leaders to blossom and grow, these are also the organisations that lose these young leaders because there is a lack of opportunity. It's clear that organisations need to provide opportunities for those with the inclination to lead or face losing them, especially in the current volatile and hot job market. However, these organisations must also have the culture, experience, and overall emotional intelligence to choose the right time to let others lead. They need to nurture. Over the course of my career, I've found that the best leaders are the ones that push us and ensure we have opportunities to learn, fail, and grow. In my mind, learning to fail and then growing from the experience is the best way to learn. Fortunately for us, it's not a life and death situation where we're given an opportunity to learn. Take a moment to reflect on the type of leader you are, or the leader you wish to become. Are you able to broaden your leadership style or styles and develop your capabilities and skills to take it to the next level? Remember, leadership is not given, it's earned. If you'd like to learn more about Indelible Adventures and the products and services we provide, please take a moment to visit the website at www.indelibleadventures.com. Indelible Adventures is one word. Thanks for listening, and look forward to hosting you again real soon. All the best.